Well, hello, y'all. It is time to breathe again on the latest Both the Sports webcast, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So I am Charles, and I am riding solo this evening because my man Patrick is a little under the weather. He'll be back. Pretty sure he'll be back next week, but he sent me a text this morning telling me he wasn't feeling well. He's been under the weather for I guess the last 4 or 5 days. So said he's gonna go get some rest up, and he'll be back as we go into March come next week. So with that, I have a few topics for you. Aaron, thanks for tuning on in, and I will be sure to uh, find the trailer to the next documentary that you are creating. So good to see you in. Um, but let's jump into a couple of these topics, or a few of these topics. And one of the things I wanted to discuss today is with the NFL. So you always hear the NFL is a copycat league. So if something is working, if there is some trendy offense or maybe a trendy defense that is taking place throughout the league, teams want to copy that, thinking they could duplicate that success that the team who originally did it had while they were doing it. If the league is such a copycat league, then why are there so many garbage teams right now? And are they really trying to copy somebody? I mean, I think they will, but it's out of convenience, more or less. And where I'm going with it is this. So think about the last two Super Bowl champions. Of course, you had the Seattle Seahawks win in a couple weeks, or what is it? What's today? The 24th. So a couple of weeks ago against the New England Patriots. And of course, last year you had the Philadelphia Eagles win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Those two teams won, and I believe this is the case with pretty much every team that wins in any team sport. They had the best teams, not quarterbacks, not just offenses, just defenses, special teams, best receivers, whatever group you want to say. They had the best teams. Seattle proved to be the best team, and so did the Eagles. So therefore, they could have a quarterback who is good, maybe not great or elite, but they have guys who can get the job done when the elite is needed. So take Sam Darnold, for instance. In the Super Bowl, the defense took over, and the Seahawks defense was good year round. But when they got into the NFC Championship game against the LA Rams, Sam Darnold needed to make some plays. And he had to, the second time they had played the Rams during the regular season. And that shootout, that was a 38-37 overtime thriller. Sam Darnold was able to make the throws when he had to have them, when the defense wasn't the best. And that's where it comes from with the complementary football. So going back to the whole thing with quarterbacks, there is still this craze to try to find this elite quarterback, the next great quarterback, whoever that might be. It's probably not coming in this draft. Coming up, it's pretty much Fernando Mendoza and everybody else. And going into next year, so I guess the draft class of 2027 looks to be better, depending, of course, on how these teams play or how these players play in the next college football season. But I understand wanting to have that person who can perhaps galvanize the team. And if you are able to have someone like a Tom Brady or like Patrick Mahomes, I know Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are mentioned in the list, but they haven't been able to lead their respective teams to Super Bowls yet. But if you can get that guy, cool. That is a bonus. But you should have the plan, or at least I would think so, You will want to have the plan to make sure your team is built. Build your offensive line, because if the quarterback can't get protected, or if he's on his back all the time without an offensive line being present, then what's the purpose of getting the quarterback? Build the defensive line. Build from inside out. That still wins. Being able to run the ball and play good defense and have that complementary football, that's what's still going to win in the league. I don't care what the other people say. I don't care what these talking heads say. It doesn't, because it doesn't really make any sense. And if they are watching the game like they would have you believe, then they would see it is about teams being able to complement each other. If one side of the ball doesn't have it, the other side of the ball would be able to pick it up for a little bit. So that brings me to these teams that continue to struggle, who are continuously in the top 5 of the drafting. Teams like the Cleveland Browns, teams like the New York Jets. The Dallas Cowboys continue to flounder around that middle of the pack, not quite good enough to compete for a championship, but not bad enough to have a top pick. The Las Vegas Raiders, that's another one who continuously is up there in terms of being in the running for a top draft choice. And the copycat thing, if you would think, if you have the teams like the Seattle Seahawks playing, like what the Eagles did last year, that would be your copycat. I would think you would want to build a team from the inside out, be strong at the lines. That's how those teams are winning. But for whatever reason, these teams, the garbage ones that I had mentioned, they continue to say, well, we got to get a quarterback. We got to get a quarterback. We got to get a quarterback. This quarterback, I mean, the elite guy, because that's where it's going. They want to find the elite guy, the next great quarterback. And maybe you don't need that great quarterback. You just need a good quarterback who can manage the game. By the way, there is nothing wrong with being a game manager. People look at game manager like it's some sort of a taboo. And it's crazy to me why you would look at it that way, because at the very least, the game manager is taking care of the football. He's not making the crucial mistake. Therefore, he is keeping your team in the game. So there's nothing wrong with game managing. But you can win with a game manager as long as he is able to come through in those times, like I had mentioned. You don't have to have a superstar quarterback. It's great if you can get them, but you don't have to have that. So I don't know why that has not gotten through to teams like the Browns, the Raiders, the Jets, go on and on and on with these teams. I mean, and then you look at what could be the free agent class this year. That quarterback, it's looking very, very rough there. I guess Kyler Murray could get traded, I guess, but does anyone really want to have Kyler Murray in that contract? I'm not really seeing that. I guess a team would take a shot at it. Maybe under the right situation, it could work, but I don't know many teams who want to take on that salary. And the same with Tua Tagovailoa. Does anybody really want to take on that salary? I guess Kirk Cousins is going to be a free agent again. They'll probably collect another check somewhere, but there's no good quarterbacks. So if you do have a good quarterback, you're probably going to end up signing him to some sort of a long-term deal. And it could be a deal that's going to hurt the cap and is probably not worth the price of admission, because the alternative, hold on, Aaron says nobody wants to take on the Xbox subscription payments too. yeah, if you have to have a contract that says you have to basically get into the study books more in terms of studying the playbook, you probably don't want to deal with that either. You're right, Aaron. And I know, with you being a Arizona Cardinals fan, I know that kind of hits the heart. But but it is, you don't want to take that on. You want to get a guy. If you're going to get a guy, you want to make sure that he is at least in the books, that he is at least doing what he has to put the work in, to make sure that he can put the team in position to win. Maybe not put up the big numbers like that, but at least take care of the ball. Don't turn the ball over. Uh, keep the chains moving, or well, I guess the virtual chain these days. But you want that guy. That's probably who you should look for first. Because there isn't any elite quarterback prospect that seems to be coming up. And the guys who are put on that level, they rarely get there. They may get close. They may have a season where it looks like they could be the elite guy, but most likely they're not going to be this elite person that you can continue to build for 5, 10, even 15 years around. That's probably not going to happen, especially when you consider how free agency is, and guys that they don't necessarily stay with their teams like that. There's really not a loyalty. Uh, there's really no loyalty like that. Most players are going to be there, and then we'll see if they stay after the rookie deal. And that would be the optimal. I can't talk this evening, but that would be the optimal time to get a title and be able to build that team when you do have this quarterback that you spent a high draft choice on, and then you can build around that guy while he's on that rookie deal. Because by the time for that extension, now it's going to start eating into the cap a little bit, and it's going to handcuff you a little bit from building the rest of the team. So you have to make sure you can be really smart. Whatever GM or vice president of football operations or whatever fancy job title they have to be savvy with how they spend the money that is available. And I mean, you're going to have players who are going to want to go other places just simply because that other team is paying more. But if you can get those players to sign some sort of a lucrative deal, maybe it has a good amount of incentives, and you can keep that team together, then you can get a winner. I mean, like look at the Rams, which I still don't understand how the Rams were able to withstand the go all in. Of course, the GM Les Snead talking about F them picks. I still don't understand how he was able to maneuver the roster to where of course they win the title, which so with you winning the title, you automatically, I mean, that's a success because that's what you went all in for, to go ahead and get that championship. But after they go all in, they don't have any draft choices because they traded them all away. But somehow they were able to keep the roster competitive, and then they made good use of their complementary picks, or not complementary, compensatory. They were able to make good use of the compensatory picks, and then they were able to get back into the draft market because those draft picks, they were able to keep those. And now look at them right now. Next in April, in a couple of months, they're going to have 2 first-round picks because they got the Falcons' first-round pick. Sorry, Patrick, but they're able to stay competitive, and they just made the NFC Championship game. We'll see what they end up doing at quarterback. It looks like Matthew Stafford is, I don't know how many years he has left, but my goodness, he's still playing at a high level. He just won the MVP. So it's going to be interesting to see if these teams just finally just say to themselves, how about we stop chasing this quarterback, trying to get this quarterback, and start building teams that can be sustainable. Like with the Cleveland Browns, the Browns have a good defense, but for whatever reason, they still continue to chase this quarterback. So continue to build the team, get the offensive line good, and find a quarterback. Could it be Shedeur Sanders? I don't know. I mean, I doubt it, but who knows? Crazier things have happened. They still have the ghost that is Deshaun Watson. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but hopefully in their case, they could start to build some things up because those fans have suffered long enough in Cleveland. And the same can be said in Oakland/Las Vegas. The Raiders have been in both places, and the Jets fans too. And the Cowboys fans, I ain't worried about. No, but it's crazy to me how people do say it is a copycat league, but not really. It doesn't seem that way because the same teams continue to be garbage, and it doesn't look like that trend's going to stop. So, moving on from that topic, let's go into here. So this is an interesting one because, well, one, I think we're going to go in a direction with football being in the off season. Yes, I know the NFL Combine is coming up, but come on. But with the combine and the draft and first mini camps and the schedule release, we know the deal with the NFL and what's coming up. But with this being the off season away from games, then maybe it's a good time to just open the forum up to talk about just different topics. And it could be anything. It could be having to do with sports. It could be having to do with entertainment, politics, music, whatever. Because like y'all already know, this is a primarily sports show, but a lot of these things intertwine and we're not afraid to talk about it. So where I'm going with this particular topic is players going broke. Well, shoot, I guess it's people going broke, and the reasons why it happens. So what made me want to talk about this is you have players who have gone on whatever the forum is. Could be a podcast, could be a webcast, could be whatever sports station. But they talk about what has happened with players' money and why players, I guess, go broke. I think it was Odell Beckham Jr. who was talking about 5 years and $100 million not being enough for him to live off of. Now, when you hear that, when you hear something like that, I could totally understand if somebody was to say, "You're crazy. You can't make it on $1 million a year or $100 million contract. You can't make it. You can't. You can't do anything with that." But you always hear these reasons where it comes to why the players go broke and why there is an issue with them staying afloat. One of the biggest things is taxes. Taxes do hit. There are a few states that are tax free or don't have state taxes. Texas is one of them. I grew up in Texas. I can tell you that it's nice not having state taxes. But Florida is another one, and there's a few others that are also that don't have any state taxes. But Texas and Florida are the main ones, and I get it. All right, you taxes can hit. I mean, look, Uncle Sam and the tax people, the IRS. Let's not get Patrick started on the IRS, but the IRS is going to come and they're going to get their money. But I think that does take the responsibility out of, I don't know, the person. Because look, all right, look, I could go further from this. I never had $1 million in my life. Maybe one day I'll have it. So I couldn't explain to you what that is like to have that much money in your possession. And do you decide that you want to go crazy? But I can tell you this, just being in the military, look, the military, they get paid pretty well, considering you get your check on the 1st and 15th, so you get paid twice a month, and then you also get your medical and dental care. That's free, or at least that's what it was when I was in. I don't know about necessarily now, but yeah, medical and dental was free. And then when you go on trips, temporary duties, or even deployments, you get all these other pay entities. It could be hazardous duty pay. It could be the cost of living allowance. It could be the base allowance, whatever that is. And then you get your per diem, which is going to be pretty high depending on where you are at for that time. So now you get all this money that is coming in, and look, trust me, I have been there and I've seen it where people are saying, "Man, we got all this free money. coming in. Oh shoot, we about to go crazy. Let's go get on this party. Let's go rent this booth out, VIP lounge. Let's go ride around on a yacht. I've seen it. I understand how people get, like, even if they get extra $1,000, they are going to lose their minds and act like they are millionaires. So I couldn't imagine how much money 100 million, like how what that would feel like if I'm seeing people do this with 1,000, like or 2,000, or maybe it's 5,000. Don't worry, look, I've been there too. I've been, with me being in the military for over 20 years. I have had these TDYs and the deployments go through, and I get a little bit extra money, and I say to myself, "Hey, well, let's go and indulge a little bit. Let's go ahead and maybe rent out a booth or something for myself and for the people that I'm working with." So it does happen, but when it's all said and done, you are responsible. You, the person, you are responsible for those choices you make. Nobody else, not the agent, not the other people around you. You are. And if you do have this bit of money, it is okay to be modest with it. You don't have to go and get the best car. You don't have to get the first or the newest Ferrari or Aston Martin or whatever luxury car, Audi, Lexus, or whatever luxury car that you want. You don't have to go get 6, 7 houses. You're only one person. You can only stay in one house. I don't want to turn into Herm Edwards here, and what he says about one of everything, one house, one car, one girlfriend, or whatever. But you don't. You can be responsible, and hopefully you have people around you who are responsible as well. You do not want to go, or if you want to go and get a high price item, go ahead, get your money, and it is your prerogative, it's your choice to do whatever you want with your money. But if you are over here getting $100 million on a contract, you don't have to go and get 7 houses, 6 cars, 2, 3 yachts, get your private jet. You don't have to do all that. That's a choice that you decided to make. And I think it goes into social norms. Look, here's the thing. And if this is getting a little bit deep, hey, I apologize. But look, we can go ahead and open it up. Like I said, we're opening it up with these topics. We as dudes, when we get this, when we go ahead, we have this high price $1 million contract. We want to get the flashiest things, and it could be jewelry, it could be the best car, it could be the biggest house, because we know there are a good amount of women who like that. Not all women, but there's a good amount of women who like the flashy stuff as well. So we work toward getting that, and then once we get that, then I guess the women will come calling, and they'll want to get with you in some way, shape, or form. But if you were that same person without that stuff, they probably gonna look at you crazy, like, no, what you trying to talk to me for? So obviously, the stuff that you have bought, that makes you an attraction. And so you have to be able, as that person, whoever it is, to just build yourself from within and make sure you are happy yourself. Because if you're always on that chase to where you're trying to get all this fancy stuff to keep the women coming and you want them there for your company, then you're never happy. And it just brings more issues, more problems. Not saying women are all the problem, but I'm just saying with us, we work, generally we work to try to get a lot of that fancy stuff. And with that fancy stuff comes taxes. So you have to pay those taxes off. And now the feds will come after you if you don't pay them. But you have to be responsible. You have to make sure you are doing the things necessary to keep some money just in case some things happen. You want to make sure if any type of emergency happens, no one wants to see those emergencies happen. But you want to make sure that you have that money put away to be able to take care of that. And the choices that are made to get all this high price stuff, and come on, y'all, it's material. They're things. You can't take them with you. And it's not, it's not really, it's not, you're not really adding anything uh, to, I guess, your value or how you would, I'm trying to find the best words to put this. So if you do not want to let that chase get the best of you and consume you. And I think that's what happens with a lot of these players. They get consumed on the money chase to get all the high price stuff. And then they get hit up for these taxes. And if they get hurt or injured, then they don't necessarily have those abilities that they had before. Those checks start to dwindle, the money starts to go away, and now they're getting their stuff pretty much taken away because they can't make the payments. It all boils down to the choices that are made. And hearing, oh man, it's the taxes, and I mean, all this other stuff that they do kind of have control over. What it does, it just really does, it boils down to just making excuses. Yeah, you have to be able to look at things from a micro, but also a macro view. You got to look at the big picture in hand and understand you're probably not going to be playing sports forever. So you have to, whatever money you do get, you have to put it away, make sure that you can continue to sustain that living, whatever that living is. And if you have to downsize, if you have to go modest a little bit, that's okay. That is all right. But a lot of people who get to that level, no, they can't do that. They get a taste, get that big money house, get that big money car, and they want to keep getting all the big money things. But that's on them, not the tax man, not the agent or any of the other people that you have to pay a percentage to. It's on you. You have to. And you have to be willing to say no to people who start leeching on you. You have to be able to say no and take that away too. So for me, players go broke because of their own decisions. They made some bad decisions, and sometimes it comes back and it bites them. So you have to. You don't want to make those bad decisions. We've all been young. Some of us are still young. Some of us are older, and we look back and we say, hey, we could have made some better decisions there. But yeah, at the end, we still have to look at the person in the mirror. We still have to look at the person that gets up every morning and ask, hey, what are we doing? How can we make the situation better? And I think these players, because I heard Cam Newton talking about it with the taxes. I heard Carmelo Anthony talking about it with the taxes. And I just think the taxes, yeah, cool. I mean, we all got to pay taxes, but at some point, can we take responsibility for our decisions? I don't know. We're the ones who decided to buy all this stuff. I think we need to go ahead and be willing to take the good and the bad with that as well. So look for topics like that to continue to come on up through the show as we're going through the spring and the summer. So I hope you enjoyed that topic. I tried to do the best I could. Hopefully, when Patrick gets back, to have a little bit of banter with it, then it would be better as we get to talk about it together. But hope you like that topic. And of course, if there is anything you would like to share, please leave it in the comments. Finally, the NBA. All right, so I've heard sports radio stations talk about the state of the NBA, going back to All-Star Weekend and how the players actually played like they gave a damn during the All-Star game. And then I heard the people who really are all about the NBA, they'll say the NBA is in good hands. Yeah, I look in the money department. Yeah, they just did a TV contract, just redid the TV contract where you have Amazon part of it. Now NBC is back in the fold after being away from it for, I guess, this is 2025. And the last game that they had aired before this year was back in 2002. In terms of being a major partner, so NBC is back, and of course ESPN, ABC is in there as well. So there's a lot of money that is flowing just from the TV contracts alone, all the revenue that comes in there. So from a money and financial standpoint, yes, they're in good hands. The product on the court is terrible. It is still really, really bad. And the players are going to have to decide what they want this product to be, because I, I keep on hearing there, because there were players complaining about the 3 pointer and how there's a lot of threes being shot. Again, this all boils back to the responsibility and knowing what your strengths are as a player. If you can hit a three, that does not make you a 3 point shooter. I know I've said that a few times in the past, but it's so true. You should not be camping out at the 3 point line when you're a 20% 3 point shooter. You need to find other things to do on the court. You need to maybe step in a little bit. Find a mid range game. Yes, the mid range game still works. Uh, I don't care what analytics says. I don't care what any metric says. If you have a mid range game, you can open up so many things for yourself. Because if you have that spot, that 15 to 17 foot jumper, you put the person who's guarding you in peril, because now he has to decide whether he's going to stay back and just let you hit that mid range, or he's going to come up. And once you come up on him, then you can get to the hoop, and maybe you can get to the foul line if you are in some sort of a slump, especially if you're like, I guess, an 80 to 85% foul shooter. And you never go in a slump if you have that mid range game, and then you can continue to work and extend that range. So going to Steph Curry, some people said Steph Curry ruined the game. Steph Curry didn't ruin the game. Steph Curry found a strength. He worked on that strength, and that's what works for him. Everybody else decided they wanted to be like Steph Curry. That's a choice they made. And if these players can't hit the three consistently, then yeah, they need to find something else, or else you're going to get a product where it just seems like it's basically a glorified 3 point shooting contest and nobody else is playing defense. You have these games that are 140 to 130, or someone pops 150 and the other team at 120. It's just bad basketball. It's really not. It's almost like the local pickup game, the YMCA game, the AAU circuit too, where nobody's really playing defense. It's, oh man, we gave up this basket. Oh well, let's get it back on offense. And then when you get into the playoffs, now some defense seems to be played, because now the players care more, because these games are all or nothing now. You're in a series and you have to make sure you win to keep your season going. So it's bad because it seems like tanking, which is another issue that is plaguing the NBA besides just the bad product. But tanking seems to be only a problem in the NBA. Now, I guess you could look at some of these other teams in other sports who try to, I guess, tank in a way where it doesn't look like they're tanking. They actually are. I think that does happen in the other sports. But in most cases, whether you're talking about the NFL or Major League Baseball or the National Hockey League, the main players are going to play if they are able to play. There's no load management happening it maybe you would see it at the end of the year. You've seen it with some teams in the NFL who are already in the playoffs and couldn't improve their position. So they decided they were going to sit down their star players or their major players during that game. But in most cases, they're playing. Those players are going to be out there. Major League Baseball, you may have the occasional maintenance day, but they're they're normally going to play. And even with hockey, and we know how physical hockey is, those players are going to be out there no matter what, really, because I don't know, it just going back to how things were. I mean, these players, they take these games seriously and they want to be out there because they don't it doesn't appear they take those moments for granted. In the NBA though, I mean, it's load management, it's I gotta sit out. I'm not trying to play in back to backs, all kinds of stuff. And I get the athlete is more advanced than ever. Now, I will say the players that are playing in the NBA now, I mean, they are bigger, better, faster, and stronger than ever before. I'm willing to acknowledge that, of course. I mean, when you have 7'4", 7'5" uh, giants like Victor Wembanyama, able to do everything on the court, shoot the three, go inside, post up, block shots. Just there's nothing he can really do on the court. I mean, there wasn't anybody like that doing the things he can do at that height. So when you have someone like that, that tells you the advancements of the athlete in today's NBA. But the whole let's just start tanking from December, that's crazy. There is more than a quarter or more than a third of the season left, and they're just over here already starting to tank, starting to get themselves together for a high draft choice. And teams have done that. I mean, we know the Spurs with getting Tim Duncan and now Wembanyama. OKC, they were kind of in the tank for a few years, but they were able to get these draft picks and actually start developing them. They got a young Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who of course is now an MVP candidate, won the MVP last year. They got him in that trade with the LA Clippers, where Paul George went over there. How are the Clippers feeling about that these days? But but OKC throwing it away for a little bit, and they're up here because they were able to develop those players, and they still have a bunch of draft picks. The Brooklyn Nets, the Brooklyn Nets are just stockpiling draft picks. We'll see what they do with them. And now the Memphis Grizzlies have a bunch of draft picks. But the tanking thing, it's gotten out of hand. It's gotten out of control. And I guess the commissioner, Adam Silver, is trying to do something about it in terms of putting together some new rules. I don't know how these are going to work. I know I heard something where I guess they were going to, or maybe, I don't know if this is confirmed, but they were going to do something, not letting teams who basically stay around the lottery, not letting them have a top 4 draft pick 2 years in a row. And again, this is all stuff that I heard. I don't know if it's confirmed, but the fact the commissioner of the NBA has to actually go through this and figure out ways to keep teams from tanking is despicable. It's pathetic. It is deplorable. And I don't, and look, and the teams that are tanking, they're not doing anything with the draft picks anyway, because they're still garbage. It's the same thing what we were talking about with the NFL. You still have these same teams who aren't doing anything, even if they do have a high draft choice, and they don't really build around them. And the players who are on the team, it's almost like they're not putting in any work. And now, look, obviously they're putting in more work than I ever did. I mean, I didn't play in the league, so I mean, they are doing something right if they played in the league. But it appears once they get there, they're not doing anything. They're not. It doesn't seem like their game is getting better. They're still doing the same thing they were doing 5 years ago or 3 years ago. There's no improvements in their game. They haven't added If they were somebody who was shooting a three, they never added a mid-range game when that 3-point shot disappears, because the 3-point shot is going to disappear eventually. I mean, it happens to everybody. It even happens to Steph Curry, where he has shooting slumps. So he has to be able to do other things to keep things rolling. But it doesn't seem like these other players go and develop their mid-range game. They don't get something going toward the basket, and then I don't know, actually defend. Because if you can defend, you can get offense. You can spark offense off of a block shot, off of a steal, and get going that way. It just seems like there's a lot of players who are doing the same thing. They have to have the ball in their hands all the time. And if they don't have the ball in their hands, then they're just going to be stationary and not move and do anything. So I, the product definitely has to get better. And then we as fans, we have to make a decision on whether or not we're going to watch. Now, it probably doesn't matter, unfortunately, in the grand scheme of things, because the money's coming from the TV revenue. But as fans, I mean, I think we deserve better than that. If we're going to pay all this money to go into a game, then the players need to play, and they need to show up. I think that is a fair that's a fair trade off. If you're gonna pay your money to go see them play, that they should give a damn. But a lot of players don't, because they know they're getting the payday. I understand it could get tough. You're gonna be tired on nights, but my goodness, at least try. That's all I'm asking. So with that, that will conclude. Oh yeah, quick bonus topic. So you remember we were talking about the basketball player, Charles Bediako. Um, he had went back to Alabama. He played for Alabama before. Then he played in the G League, and now he's trying to play basketball again at Alabama. Apparently, he's not giving that up. He's still trying to play for Alabama. I guess he had asked the Alabama Supreme Court to go ahead and put something in to where he could still play. Dude, can we? How about how about you go and work on your game? How about that? You went to the G League and you weren't having it work there, so you try to come back to college. They say no, you cannot play, and you're still trying to play at Alabama. Just go and work on your game, dude. And we don't need 30-year-olds playing college. I think there has to be. I thought what wasn't there supposed to be some sort of eligibility rule? I mean, come on, man. He's gonna be 30, 31 years old. Now, I mean, he's not that now. But I'm saying he's gonna be 30 to 31 years old, still trying to play in Alabama. Go work on your game, man. My goodness. All right. With that, that will conclude this edition of the Bofa Sports webcast. And that is what I guess just me. I guess that's what I'm breathing on for this evening. Y'all make sure y'all visit the Bofa Sports YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, and follow the Bofa Sports Facebook page. Hopefully Patrick is back next week. And until then, everybody take care. Everyone who tuned in, thanks for watching. Aaron, thanks for checking it out as well. And have a great rest of the week. And y'all take care. And gosh, next week, it will be March. So years flying around. 2026 is flying on through. And stay tuned to Bofa Sports. And the best is yet to come from this product. So again, everybody take care. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you next week.